BS. Good morning. Before I shut the door, kill the heater, and I get the noise quiet in here, I wanted to just jump on here and say I'm not going to do a full talking head video today. I got the 87 about 10 inches off. I got my book I'm going to read today, right there. A really awesome book. It's by Charles Bukowski, but I'll get into all that here in a minute. I'm not going to read the whole book. Or, I doubt it's a lot of poems. This is, for me, this is kind of a nerd morning. It's snowing. It's really coming down, or it came down last night, and it's beautiful out there. It looks almost beautiful in this town in the morning when it snows. It looks nice during sunrise and sunset, but this morning was especially awesome. To watch Pork Chop running in the snow was almost bizarre. Something that is just so out of his character, but it was cool to see. But what I'm doing here is this audio here is raw. I'm not going to do anything to it. When I load the read, I'll have a whole processed chain I'm going to use. And that's part of the test today for me, this audio test. So without further ado, I'm going to get my coffee in here, batten down the hatches, and get busy reading one of the dead greats. So, okay. So I'm not going to be in this mode constantly here in the video because it'll be really aggravating. Got the mic here, the light here, the book here. I almost feel like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, like coming into the light like, you're an errand boy sent by grocery clerks. Well, anyway, this is, the first poem is going to be called When You Wait for the Dawn to Crawl Through the Screen Like a Burglar to Take Your Life Away. What a great line. What a great title. And so I'm going to read this. I did this talking head video part because I want to size make a jig for the entirety of the rest of the video. If I put a vertical photo in or a vertical video, it wants to make all the clips do that. And I'm sure there's a way to get around that, but I'm just not deft enough in video production at this point. So anyway, here we go. So there is so much I can say about this book. The days run away like wild horses over the hills. It was one of the first poetry books I ever read when I was very young. And I remember I went into this before, and then there's one of these videos where the first poem I read was on the fire suicide of the Buddhists in this book, and it just blew me away. It took me to a place where I thought to myself, wait a minute, I thought poetry was like, different. Kind of like doily and hoity-toity and, highbrow and, meaning in language, not like in society. But when I read Bukowski, he was one of the first poets one of the first ones who introduced me to, I guess, blue-collar poetry or a pauper with a dream kind of poetry. And so when I read this, I was like, this is a guy who's kind of lived my life, man, to a certain extent. I didn't have the acne vulgaris he had. I didn't have the talent he had either, come to think of it. But nonetheless, it didn't stop me from doing what I wanted to do, which was be a writer. And, here's the thing. I've had two compliments in my career that stand out to me by the same guy, school teacher, and I think he's in Brooklyn, or he was. But I met him when I was out in New York City, and he said to me two things that I'll never forget, and I should really look him up again. I haven't talked to him in ages. You know how it happens. Life gets in the way. Barriers become barricades, and next thing you know, you're just not talking to somebody for decades. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to so-and-so? In fact, he was a character in one of my short stories in A Dead Bird's Hot. But anyway, he said to me two things. He told me March of Time and Skin is like a heavy metal western. I never lost that image. I thought that was so fucking cool. And then he said, your writing gives people who shouldn't be artists or writers the opportunity to do so through reading your work. And I deflect compliments. But whenever someone gives me a compliment, I immediately bounce it back out of me in a derogatory manner. Like I'll be like, yeah, but I'm blah, blah, blah. I'll say something mean about myself because I want to keep, I don't know why, it's a dumb thing. I should just say, hey, thanks, and keep that. And that might change my outward disposition, right? But hey, old dog, new tricks, hard to do. Anyway, so When I read Bukowski, it was kind of like that. I mean, I'm not saying I shouldn't have been a writer or whatever, but at the same time, after reading him, right, a lot of doubt and a lot of that weird shadow of you can't do it, the imposter syndrome, all those things that you go through as a creator, especially back then. Now, I don't read Bukowski that much anymore. I'm only bringing this up. I'm recalling vividly from my youth because a good friend of mine, my buddy Zach, gave me this book during Thanksgiving because he knew that was one of the first books I read that really inspired me to take that leap and have the guts to go, you know what, I'm not going to ever be a corporate executive. I'm never going to be a career man. I probably will never have Social Security. I'll probably never have health insurance. So if I'm going to go out that way, I may as well go out with a fucking bang, right? I might as well leave a mark, at least for myself, not for anybody else. I don't give a shit about a legacy, but I care about writing. If I can write and get away with it, and now that I do audio, if I can do that and get away with it, take it kind of by the horns and make a living, then I'm going to fucking do it. Now, that's not to say that reality isn't itself a fucking barricade, because it is. It can be an impregnable wall, and you can sometimes only hope to shatter it by working hard and having an 80-hour a week or a 60-hour a week. I've done them both. I'm at 40, 80. One time I had a 100-hour a week jobs back in the early 2000s to pull down my rent. Me and my 2 dogs, a bad breakup, I worked 3 jobs. It was brutal. But you know what? I was also younger, ton of energy, and I used to have hope. So there's always that. Now I still have hope, only now my hope is like, I hope I don't sleep wrong on my pillow tonight and wake up tomorrow with a stiff neck and a blown kneecap from getting out of bed the wrong way. It's hilarious how your body reacts to age. I'm trying to kind of like blunt that pain by eating right, but sometimes I just fall off the wagon. I not only fall off the wagon, I not only fall off, but I get dragged by it for about 6 miles. And then I get up, dust off, and get back on it. So, I think there's a balance there. I really do. Though there has to be. Otherwise we're all fucked. But, the thing is that I think a lot of it too for me was reading Bukowski and taking this away from him, taking away that feeling, because even in all the darkness and the drunken poems and the bar rooms and the whores and the rooming houses, regardless of whether or not it was bullshit or shinola, you don't know. But I kind of do though, regardless of all that, or as my buddy who worked a bar in Midtown used to say, irregardless of all that. I have to say that Charles Bukowski gets a lot of credit from me for really kind of pushing me up that path. I was going up anyway, right? Up that hill, I guess. And at the point when I found Bukowski, when I discovered him in that bookstore, I pulled this book off the shelf and I was reading. I thought to myself, holy fuck. Let me be clear. I was already set to take that path. I was already on my way. I had already been writing for a bit. But what I in Bukowski I found, I wouldn't say, a brother, a comrade. I found somebody who, regardless of anything else, his writing really kind of poked a hole through. It really kind of like touched my heart, and it made me realize, wait a minute, this is not academia here. This is academia at its finest. This is an academia of the streets. All right. Before I go on any longer, I want to read this man's work. This is the first poem I talked about earlier. Here we go. When you wait for the dawn to crawl through the screen like a burglar to take your life away. I can't get enough. The snake had crawled the hole, and she said, "Tell me about yourself." And I said, "I was beaten down long ago in some alley in another world." And she said, "We're all like pigs slapped down some lane, our grass brains singing toward the blade." "My God, you are an odd one," I said. We sat there smoking cigarettes at 5 a.m. 3 lovers. I saw them sitting in the lamplight, and I went in, And he talked, waving his hands. Jesus, his face was red, and he talked. He wanted to be right. He waved his hands, but when I left, he just sat there, and she sat there in the chair across from him, and I got into my car and backed out the drive and left them there to do whatever they wanted to do. Okay, this one's called, Did I Ever Tell You? Did I ever tell you about the damn fool who liked to make love in front of a picture window? And there was the one who took the phonograph back, and the one who broke the lampshades, and the one with the little golden hairs on his chest, and the one on the kitchen floor, and the one who hunted for the mouth of the Orinoco River, and the tall one who became a forest ranger and left a note with Roger confessing he was queer, but Roger already knew. Then there's the communist. He's in Canada or Florida, only I think he's somebody else under this other name, and I have a photo of him crawling out of a rowboat. He has lovely gray hair, and his face is sort of blue, and he writes these long love letters. And Edward was a queer but so very gentle. He lit candles, had a sense of humor, and very hairy legs, like one of those land crabs, or a coconut. And Jerry was just like a horse. If I looked him in the eye, he couldn't kiss me. He just pretended he was gay, but he wasn't. I can tell. Oh, I can always tell. Then there was my desert romance. I really don't like to tell about it, but since you asked, I think he really loved me. I got drunk and fell off my horse and broke my arm when we tried to jump a fence riding double saddle, and his wife threatened to kill me, so I left town. I used to go up on the roof with Manny. He was strange. Parents spoiled him. We looked at the moon through a telescope. I stood at the big end and held it up, and he sat down at the little end and looked through it. And Carl has my drama through the ages from Euripides to Miller. I must write him for it. You won't mind? That Carl. It was my birthday, and I came in, and he was out cold drunk on the sofa, and I threw some flowers at him, face and all, and he stood up and showed me the tiniest gold bracelet in a little felt box, and I cried. Oh yes, I loved him. I really loved him. He was so kind, and he was always writing Mother. Where's Rita at? Please tell me. But Mother never told him. Then there was that old bastard German. They never know when to give it up. He was bald, and I hated him. He looked like a sick frog, and his breath was bad. But the funniest thing was all his hair on his belly. I could never figure it. He had plenty of money, but he was married, the old bastard, and he told me he loved me, and he hired me as a secretary. He was always playing around, the old bastard, and I finally ran away, though I could have taken him from his wife, but I couldn't stand the old bastard. Vincent? No, he was nothing. He was frightened of his brother. My brother, he'd scream, and we'd all run out the back door and into the garage naked, or just in panties and bras. I made curtains for his house, and he called me daughter, and I cooked for him, and he wrote everything in a little black book and wore a sailing cap. He dropped money on the floor and played the organ. Wrote an opera for organ called Emperor of San Francisco. But I liked him mainly because he knew the kids. Drove me to Newman once to meet them, and once, before he got real tight, he sent me money when I was stranded in the islands. And Gus, he was just like a father to me. I knew him so long. I met him in the islands when I was stranded. I think he saved my life. I got fired for being caught in the barracks, but he understood. Oh, I know you don't like him, but he's so understanding. And when Vincent sent the money, we both came stateside. He said he wanted to marry me, but he had to take care of his mother, who had some kind of lifelong disease. He's always running back to those islands, so completely lost, utterly lost. You'd hardly know him now. He stopped drinking and weighs 297, and he kissed just like you, and had these little wires in his left leg, but he'd never tell me. And the chauffeur walked into the room with a basket with a live chicken in it. The guy grabbed the chicken around the neck and whirled it around and around, and you should have heard that chicken scream. And then he cut it with a knife, and the blood flew like rain. And this guy played his piccolo and watched my eyes, and that's all that happened, even though he made me take off my dress. He gave me $25, but somehow the whole thing made me sick. Nicholas was a queer and impotent, and he was my lover. He still has my E.E. Cummings. The first one was insane. He blew through fig leaves while sitting on the coffee table, his hands tangled in my hair. He played the oboe, and you know what they say about the oboe. They took him away from me, and he was like a child. I gave the oboe to a ballet dancer who broke his leg on a camp stool while hiking in the Adirondacks. I was engaged to Arlington only 3 weeks, and he tore the ring from my finger, claiming he didn't want to marry the whole queer army. Later he cried on my shoulder and told me he was a queen bee and a general, and that he had been kidding himself all his life. I cried when he left. Ralph was the only one, I think, who ever loved me, but he didn't appreciate the finer things. He thought that Van Gogh used to pitch for Brooklyn and that George Sand played opposite Zsa Zsa Gabor. And when he sent money from East Lansing, I bought a hi-fi set and a toy bull with blue eyes and called him Keithy Pot. I sent Ralph a pressed azalea and a photo of me bending over in a bikini. Sherman was afraid of the dark. He died swallowing a cherry seed. Roger, I've told you about him. Roger started a good story once, but he never finished it. It was about a queer sitting at a table at a nightclub, and these people came up, but, I can't explain it. Peter will kill himself someday. Art will kill himself. Tommy set fire to the bed and beat his mother. I only live with him because of her. We went to Alka-Seltzer Mass together. Once he hit her when she got off a streetcar. Then he hit me. I hated him, but she was like a mother to me, and then I met you. Remember that Sunday at the Round Duck? You said, let's go to Mexico, and you took me up to your place and read Earl Stanley Gardner, and then you hung out the window. You looked like my father. You should have known my father. He was a drunkard. Oh, I'm so glad I met you. You make me feel so good. Darling, you are a man, the only real man I've ever known. Oh dear, how I've waited. My hands are cold and you have the funniest feet. I love you. Oh, what a great piece of writing that is. And this one's called Song of My Typewriter. The best way to think is not at all. My banjo screams in the brush like a trapped rabbit. Do rabbits scream? Never mind, this is an alcoholic dream. Machine guns, I say, the altar boys, the wet nurses, the fat newsboys, rubber-lipped delegates of the precious life. My banjo screams, sing through the darkened dream. Green grow green, take gut. Death at last is no headache. And I'll close the book today with this one. It's called And the Moon and the Stars and the World. Long walks at night, that's what's good for the soul. Peeking into windows, watching tired housewives trying to fight off their beer-maddened husbands. Beautiful. I could keep going on forever, but I need to go out there and face the world. The snow, the pups, it's all too good to not be calling me. So anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you liked it, and I will talk to you in the brand new one. And as always, take good care.